You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
So over the weekend, we had the federal eviction moratorium that got lifted on Saturday night, July 31st. Sunday, evictions. Carry forward. And then on Tuesday, yesterday, the CDC, even though the Supreme Court basically said, yeah, you guys don't really have any ability to extend this out, ability to put these eviction moratoriums in place, CDC announces new eviction ban despite the Supreme Court threat of, hey, you don't have the authority to do this. You're going to have Congress put this in place. And President Biden has basically said, yeah, this might not stand up in court. We kind of did this just basically to buy some time. What they're doing is they are buying time so that the $47 billion that the federal government has tried to put in the hands of state and local government can actually get to the people it needs to get to. Do we have faith that that's going to happen in the next 2 months? Because that's when this eviction moratorium, the extension, goes through end of October 31st. So, no, October 1st, August, September. Yeah, that's going to come up quick. 8 weeks. Are we going to have more politicians sleeping on the White House, on the steps in Washington, D.C.? Is that literally what we're going to have happen on the Capitol steps? That's what happened here. We're going to read about some of the comments made of, oh, why can't the CDC just extend this out? This has become crazy. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, that's happening. That's interesting. Okay, well, that's one way to handle it, but it's probably not legal. But by the time somebody ties this up in court, lawsuit happens, this moratorium is going to be over, and who knows what's going to happen. Let's jump on in. But before we do, if you're new here, my name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies, and I read the news. All right, let's go. So the CDC announces new eviction ban. And I have questioned this from the get-go. So since when does the CDC have the authority to ban anything? Anything. I don't know. That's just me though, right? And they put this new eviction ban in place despite the Supreme Court threat and despite the White House saying, yeah, the CDC, we our hands are tied. We can't do anything here. We're all done. We're all stuck. What are we going to do? And now when they went off on their 7-week vacation, and now miraculously, we've got this new eviction ban in place. The moratorium will apply to counties experiencing substantial and high levels of community transmission levels, which equates to almost everybody, 90% of the population, right? And it will last until October 3rd, so exactly 2 months. The Biden administration on Tuesday announced a new targeted, but inclusive of almost everybody, new targeted federal eviction ban to replace the one that expired over the weekend, setting up a potential clash with the Supreme Court. You think? The Supreme Court has already ruled once. Yeah. The CDC doesn't have the ability to do this ban. So we're just going to do another one and just see what our second ruling is? That seems like that's what's happening, right? President Joe Biden had earlier Tuesday teased the announcement to reporters while cautioning that any call for a moratorium based on the Supreme Court's recent decision, here's the kicker, is likely to face obstacles, meaning that it's really a no-go, but it's a way to buy a couple of months' time. I didn't really see this one coming because I didn't think that they would try and pull this, but here we are. Does anything shock you anymore? No, not really. This is kind of crazy because the White House had literally just said, yeah, CDC, basically can't do anything because the Supreme Court said, yeah, you don't really have the right to do this. Well, we're just going to repackage the title a little bit. We're going to bundle up, some new guidelines here, a new moratorium, and throw it out there, and know that even on day one, that it's likely to face obstacles. Meaning, yeah, it's not legal. This doesn't have any legal standing. The Supreme Court isn't going to green light it. Nope. But by the time it gets to that point where it says, yep, nope, Maybe some more of this $47 billion will have fallen miraculously into the right hands. Right now, of the $47 billion, there's like $3 billion has been distributed. And so like 6% of the funds are out there. So in the next 60 days, are we just going to have a major rally? Is that money just going to fall from the sky into the hands of those who need it? I don't have any great faith in that happening, because it seems like the time period you've had this long to work on this. How many months has it been? And you got 6% of the funds out there? Maybe it's 15% now. Don't we need more like 50% of the funds in the hands of who needs it? I mean, isn't that kind of where we should be? No, apparently not. That's not reality. We got to deal with reality, even though reality now is, oh, all right, we got rejected once. Well, let's just try this again and see what happens. Let's go for rejection number 2. And we're going to call that rejection possibly facing obstacles. The announcement comes after a days-long standoff with Congress in which Nancy Pelosi, with Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats, along with progressives led by Representative Cori Bush, she was sleeping on the Capitol steps and sent out tweets saying, oh, the wind was cold. It was cold this morning. Well, that's because you're outside in the middle of the night, and even in summer, it can get cold there, right? I doubt it was cold. Washington, D.C., is it cold there this time of year in August? I don't know. All right. Along with progressives led by Representative Cori Bush of Missouri, they waged an intense public campaign to goad the White House into action. That's literally what it was. It was a goading. We have to do something. It's terrible. 11 million people going to get evicted. And I've said all along, even if you take the moratorium off right now, you're going to have a bunch of evictions that would have happened anyway. All right. So at some point in time, you've just got to deal with this. Now it looks like our new projected date is October 3rd. The new ban would give state and local programs additional time to distribute rent relief and to increase vaccination rates, the agency said. Okay, and increase vaccination rates. How does that fit in here? I mean, landlords need their money. They don't need the vaccination rates to increase. Don't really care there. All right. The moratorium is expected to affect 80% of counties and 90% of the U.S. population. So it's targeted, yet it includes damn near everybody, 9 out of 10 U.S. citizens. All right. But don't forget, it's targeted. It's targeted. That way we can look at it and go, it's targeted. We're really honing in on a certain segment of the population here. We're honing in on a certain segment of the population that is everyone. And this was according to Democrats familiar with the details. With the deets, Biden said on Tuesday he had sought out constitutional scholars to determine the CDC's legal authority and what they could do that is most likely to pass muster constitutionally. The bulk of the scholarship reviewed by the White House said additional action by the CDC would not pass muster in the courts, Biden said, adding that there were some key scholars who said it could. It might, if you get the right judge. Get this in front of the right judge. Maybe it could. We don't really know. Okay. But yeah, it's a try-for. It's a try-for, and it's going to work because it's going to take time to get this through the system. It's crazy. This is crazy that this moratorium is going to go on for a year, basically. Over a year and a month. Because it went into place, the federal moratorium went into place last September. The targeted moratorium comes after the White House insisted for days that the CDC didn't have the authority to act and that it was incumbent upon Congress to pass an extension. Do you remember that? That was like last weekend. The White House was literally saying, yeah, the CDC, they can't do anything. We can't get the CDC to do anything here. But all of a sudden, now we can. So we went from the CDC having the authority or not having the authority to, well, let's give this a try. Let's give this a rip. But the House left for a multi-week recess Friday after failing to pass an extension, with Pelosi and other top Democrats furious at the White House for putting this at their feet. Well, it really put it at your feet or people at the feet of people who, are getting evicted. It's mind-boggling that this is where we're at and this is what's going on. On Monday, the White House put the onus on governors and mayors, saying the CDC couldn't find any legal authority to act even after Biden had asked the agency on Sunday to explore every tool at their disposal. All right. And then something changed. What happened? All of a sudden, we're going to give this a rip. Let's try this one out. Let's just see if this one fits. I mean, we repackaged it. It's targeted. We're going to throw it out there. Odds are not good that it's constitutional. I mean, it's probably not, but it's worth the run. This is what we're doing. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky on Tuesday linked the agency's abrupt about-face to the rise in recent weeks of the highly transmissible Delta variant. All right, but recent weeks, how about we just go back to last weekend? What about just last weekend where we're saying, this moratorium is going to be lifted. CDC can't really do anything. All of a sudden, let's look at the rise in cases. We need to kick this moratorium out. That's literally what happened. The emergence of the Delta variant has led to a rapid acceleration of community transmission in the United States, putting more Americans at increased risk, especially if they are unvaccinated. She said in a statement, "This moratorium is the right thing to do to keep people in their homes and out of congregate settings where COVID-19 spreads." It's crazy that we're at this point. Democrats had pushed for such a resolution. I don't buy that the CDC can't extend the eviction moratorium. Something it's already done in the past. Who is going to stop them? Who is going to penalize them? House Financial Services Committee Chair Maxine Waters tweeted on Monday night. How about the fact that the Supreme Court said, no? What about that? There is no official ruling saying that they cannot extend this moratorium. Come on, CDC, have a heart. Just do it. That is literally a tweet from House Financial Services Committee Chair Maxine Waters. Are we not following the same news story here? It feels like we're not. It feels like we've got a real void in the facts here. There's no official ruling saying that they cannot extend this moratorium. Okay. All right. But, the White House literally, when this is being released, is saying, it's probably not going to hold up. But let's give it a rip anyway. It's a try for it. It's a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary that's probably going to work because of the timing issue, right? Bush has captured, this is the gal on the, sleeping in her sleeping bag on the Capitol steps. Bush has captured nationwide attention for sleeping on the Capitol steps since the previous moratorium lapsed over the weekend in protest of the administration's inaction as Pelosi publicly urged the White House to step in. Biden called Pelosi to inform her of the decision earlier Tuesday. According to two sources familiar with the conversation, the White House also gave progressive leaders on Capitol Hill a heads up. Hey, heads up, guys. We're going to throw something out there that may or may not work, but it's going to buy us some time because we can't seem to get our act together, getting that Fed money into the local and state governments. In the meantime, how are landlords doing? They're not getting paid. They're covering all these bills. So there's another 2 months worth of bills. You got your mortgage, you got your insurance, you got your taxes, you've got your maintenance, you've got your upkeep, all that stuff. Legal fees, trying to get said jokesters out that with these moratoriums. Got to get that lined up. I mean, if you've got a tenant that's just not going to pay and now they're 30 grand behind, 40 grand behind in rent, you're going to probably seek some legal guidance on that, right? And from what I hear, everybody looking for attorneys, everything is so backed up. It's just so, you got a year plus worth of evictions that are going to happen that would have happened anyway, just, sequentially over time. Now, boom, they're all going to come at once. There's going to be a massive wave. And unfortunately, this is just going to happen. You can only kick this out for so long. And so far, it looks like October 3rd is our next moving point in the calendar, right? Pelosi had reiterated in a private caucus call with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on Tuesday morning that it was incumbent upon the administration to find a way to extend the moratorium, even though the Supreme Court said that, Congress should probably deal with this. But as the Delta variant rages, see, we just put it on the Delta. As the Delta variant rages, House leaders expressed concern about further eviction protections beyond October 3rd. Of course they did. We still have a problem where we're told that the Senate will not enact legislation, so we'll have to see, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer said in an interview Tuesday. But obviously, this is a step forward in giving us some time to see whether or not further legislative action is possible. Who knows? Maybe the Delta variant just rears up its ugly head and actually gets kind of nasty. And then we got to just keep extending this thing out to who knows when. Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal, Democrat from Washington, who had several days of calls with senior officials over the past few days, praised the White House for responding to the urgency that we presented. I've kind of said all along that I don't think we really need an eviction moratorium. I said all along we didn't need a shutdown. We didn't need any of that. There were workarounds for all of this. So I'm just a huge no-go on these extensions. This is ridiculous. But Jayapal had previously said in an interview that any CDC ban would need to be bolstered by congressional action. Okay. Yeah, so everybody's kind of admitting what's going on here, but they just want what they want. Oh, we need an extension on this. The House and the Senate still need to act in case that gets challenged in the court, she said. In case, guaranteed this gets challenged. Absolutely 100%. This gets challenged right now. This is just a different situation than on June 29th when the Supreme Court wrote their opinion. Really? How is it different? This is just a different situation than on June 29th when the Supreme Court wrote their opinion because of the Delta variant. All right, but we were told that the vaccine was the be-all and end-all for all of this. The economy's roaring back to life. We're talking about ending some of the federal unemployment extended benefits. That's going to come up with like in a month or so. At some point in time, you got to just rip that Band-Aid off. But we've got folks at the Capitol who don't really get that whole concept. At some point in time, you're going to have to deal with this. And it's not going to be pretty. There's no way to put a pretty bow on it and tie it up and say, hey, here you go, American public. This is your deal. We've created this mess. Now we're going to have to work our way out. And it's not going to be pretty. It's just not. Because you've taken a time period and you're going to shove all those evictions into, all right, let's let the race begin. Day one, here you go. You're off to the races, folks. This is a short-term, long-term strategy, Lee said. All right, let's wrap our heads around that one. Short-term and long. The only thing we're missing there is medium-term. This is a short-term, long-term strategy, Lee said. When in fact the moratorium ends, we absolutely cannot be in the same place we are in now. Where are we? Where are we and what are we doing? That's what I'd like to know. We need to have some legislation passed in Congress, in the House especially. All right. But they tried to just do that this past weekend, right? And what happened? There wasn't enough support for it. Period. All right. So going back to, we need to have some legislation passed in Congress, in the House especially. All righty. But yeah, you see where I'm going here? This doesn't make any sense at all. And yet, it's crystal clear, isn't it? It's like, oh, this is just what we want. We're willing to try it. Constitutional or not, it'll buy us some time. Could you imagine if the previous administration would have done this, would have pulled this? Oh, end of the earth is here. Democratic lawmakers had stepped up their pressure on the Biden administration after House Democrats failed to marshal the votes to extend the ban in the wake of the White House's announcement on Thursday that it could not extend itself. The White House pinned the blame for its initial refusal to extend the ban on a Supreme Court decision in June that indicated a majority of justices believed the CDC had overstepped its authority when it imposed the moratorium in September. So when we're talking about, there's really nobody to penalize the CDC, apparently we're not really placing any emphasis on the Supreme Court weighing in on this matter at all, are we? Supreme Court? Who cares? Let's just extend the ban. That's literally what happened yesterday. The White House has been very wary of future lawsuits that it had feared and could gut the CDC's powers to institute such a moratorium based on public health conditions down the road. Whew. Yeah. Yes, when did the CDC have this ability? And they even put in some like $100,000 fine and a year in jail if somebody doesn't die due to an illegal eviction, or if somebody does die to an illegal eviction done during the CDC moratorium. It's like $250,000 fine and a year in jail. It's like, when does the CDC have this ability? I don't know. I mean, how does that work? I didn't realize they had any ability whatsoever to put this kind of stuff together, but apparently they do, and we are living with it. Okay, so what do you think? October 3rd. What do you think will happen October 3rd? We're going to get kicked out again? I didn't think we'd get kicked out again this time. I thought we were done. What do I know? Because in order to do basically what they did, they just kind of overran the Supreme Court and said, yeah, all right, here we go. You guys, extend that moratorium out. And even though it's probably not worth the paper it's written on, it's what we're doing. Yeah, mind-blowing. And yet, given the certain circumstances that are happening right now, is it really that mind-blowing? It's not. It's just kind of like, that happened. All right. And why do I keep talking about this? Because this is actually a real estate thing, isn't it? It is. And you've taken one segment of the population and given them coverage, and the other segment of the population and said, yeah, you're going to cover all the bills for those guys. When has that ever happened before? Don't think it has. Is it legal? I don't think it is. No, and a lot of other people, including the Supreme Court, they also don't believe that the CDC had the authority to impose the moratorium in September. The Supreme Court. But then again, I'm a real estate guy and a wannabe podcaster, and my opinion is, no one cares. But I care, and you guys care, because this is kind of how things are going, isn't it? It's like, all right, we're just going to lob this out there and see how it happens. So October 3rd, odds of that being extended. If we've got a massive increase in the Delta variant, yeah, I can see that happening. I can see another extension. This is just going to get extended until we're all really old and or die. Now, it's not going to go that far, but man, it sure feels like it, doesn't it? And it's just you're postponing the inevitable. Should you rip off that Band-Aid now? Nah, give it another couple of months. It's not going to be any better then. It's going to be harder to rip off. But, it's better to deal with it later than right now. Let that fester a little bit longer. Let people get really worked up. Let people get even further behind in their rent. Let the landlords just take that, let them take the brunt of this for at least another couple of months, because that seems fair. Yeah. Crazy. That's it for me on this one. I've beaten this one to death. You know where I stand. I know where you guys stand. This is absurd. All right. We'll catch up next time. And there will be a next time, because we'll be talking about this here probably pretty soon, because you're going to have yet another court case on this guaranteed somewhere, sometime. And I'll cover it for you right here in the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for being here. We'll talk soon. Until then, stay safe. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.